Ah, yes. Mr. Mish, how are you doing, sir? You doing good?
Doing great. Good to see you, Big O. What's happening?
Great to see you. So if you caught 62, would you give it back?
No way. Come on. That's a stupid question. What kind of question is that?
How much you want for it?
I mean, it's not about that. It's life-changing money, regardless. If it's 500,000, a million, a million and a half, 2 million. I mean, I just never understood the fascination with people on a soapbox saying that if they caught it, they would give it back. Go put yourself in that position and see it happen and see how and just take the ball home for one night and see how your life changes that day. I mean, look, if you're a multimillionaire and you catch a ball that's worth $1 million, you certainly could consider giving it back.
I think this guy's got bucks, actually. The guy that caught it.
No, maybe we really don't know, but in the end, it's for me, you paid for a ticket, you caught a ball, it's your ball. Aaron Judge is owed nothing. The Yankees are owed nothing. There's a big difference, like catching. I mean, I guess you don't know because Mike Trout's home run at first nobody thought that would be anything, and that's probably worth $1 million or $2 million. But really, in the end, if it's a prospect ball that's not supposed to be anything spectacular, fine. Like Julio Rodriguez hit his first home run in Miami, Orlando earlier this year for Seattle, and some fan gave back the ball. Probably a bad decision, probably in the end, because if this kid becomes a star, that's going to be regrettable, and it's hard to know in the moment. But I've always been on the fans' side of this, where hey, your decision, fine, but for me, I've hustled way too long,
right,
in business to pass up a lottery ticket. I just am not going to do that.
Yeah, me neither. I would never do that. Let me ask you: will that ball climb? Because in the eyes of many, he is the real home run king because of the shadow that looms over Bonds, Sosa, and McGuire, that we don't look at them as they did it the right way, that they cheated at that moment. And, we don't even know if Judge is clean or not either, but,
Sure.
The perception is that he's clean. I mean, Judge is such a likable dude. It just
really
seems
is.
like, damn, he carries himself so well, dude. He's and by the way, the coolest thing for the Yankees, the top 3 home run kings in the history of the American League are all 3 Yankees. That's pretty freaking cool, by the
way. Who am I missing? It's Ruth,
Maris, Ruth, and Maris is not a Yankee. Did I?
Maris, Ruth, and Judge. I gotcha.
Okay, yeah, okay,
I mean, look, I don't think. I mean, at this point, you just have to accept the records for what they are. Bonds is the home run king. But I would say, Orlando, that could the ball maintain its value? I think that's the question that you have to ask. And if he still is on the Yankees and he ends up in the Hall of Fame and he ends up hitting 500 or 600 home runs and he has the home run record, yeah, I mean, I think it can maintain. But as far as going up or anything like that, nah, I don't think so. I think, I guess there was an offer of $2 million. That seemed really high for me. It seemed high personally. But no auction house can offer that unless they could sell it for 20% more. So it must be worth that.
Wow, that's what the auction house gets? An extra 20%? That's what they get? I didn't know that. I didn't know the number.
18, usually 17.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
good
it's a lot
for them, dude.
Yeah.
Holy crap! All right, Ohtani. So he's in the ERA and batting title.
Yep. And he'll finish second in the MVP.
It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
He is ridiculous.
He's the best player. He's having the best seasons of all time in the history of baseball, back to back.
It's just, this is so free. And his ERA for the Angels is like the lowest ERA since Nolan Ryan in 1972. I mean, if
Ohtani was on the Yankees and Judge was on the Angels, Ohtani would be the unanimous MVP.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's it.
Are you all right giving Judge the MVP?
There's no choice in the matter, but I would vote for Ohtani if I had a vote.
Okay, right, yeah, right, exactly. That, because I would vote for Ohtani.
Are you kidding me?
To me, it's not even a close vote between.
I say the same thing on all the shows that I've been on and talk about this. And you grew up in the 80s like I did. Imagine in the 80s, Orlando, I'm like, all right, here's what's going to happen. 30 years from now, you and I are going to be doing a show. There's going to be a player. He's the best hitter in baseball and the best pitcher, or close.
No shot. You're an
idiot. Like, that guy is the MVP every year if he's playing.
Yes. No, and I'm calling you a moron. 30 years ago.
Yeah, you're like, there's no chance.
Get out of here, bro. You're crazy.
No
I
chance.
just saw this stat. He faced more innings than any player in the history of the game because of the batting and the pitching. It's like 5,000 innings or something stupid. I mean, this is not human what he's doing, bro.
Judge has had a great year, but it's New York bias. That's all there is to it, man. Judge was on Kansas City. You think he's the MVP?
No. It's New York. You're right. You're 1,000% right. It's all about the market. That takes it to another level. But Ohtani, for me, is God. He is the most valuable player in the last 100 years.
No question.
Of baseball.
I've never seen
not
anything
just
like
this season. 100 years. Because I know in my 56 years, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a player that can come close to this guy to be that good on both sides of the plate. That's just sick. All right, let's get to the depressing stuff now.
You want to do Marlins here or no?
Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so talk to me, my brother. Is this just like Groundhog Day? Is that what we're going through now? Another off season of new manager, sell me any kind of hope. What are we looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll make moves, but I don't think they'll be significant in nature. I think they're pretty bent about those signings that they had in the offseason with Soler and Garcia. And I don't know that they're going to go back out on the market and spend again. It would be great if they could somehow convince someone to take Garcia, and then I really do think they'd reinvest that $50 million. That would be fantastic. That would require them giving up a prospect just to take them off their hands. That's not something they really want to do. But if I was them, I would seriously explore that, and then they could go back on the market and get some viable players here. But beyond that, it's going to be trades. I think they're going to be trading for players. I think they're going to be trading for low, not high salary players. Maybe guys who have a high salary that are on the end of their contracts or something along those lines, and like 1 year deal. I don't see any long term deals.
Do you expect what kind of manager are they? Are they going to get just like a young guy that hasn't had an opportunity? Is that what we're expecting?
I think they're going to interview like 10 people, it sounds like, and all walks of life. Managers who have managed before, ones who haven't, ones who have been coaches. I did a column in the Herald and I listed 6 coaches. I probably would guess 5 of those get interviewed or 4 of those get interviewed, and then some others. I'm starting to hear some other names now, but no one's been interviewed yet, and so it's sort of a waste of time for me to like say, hey, I heard this, Orlando, and then the guy doesn't even get interviewed. But I assure you, every interview that happens that I know, I'll report.
Okay. Players, where do some of these players stand? Are there any issues behind the scenes? Are there any players that are not happy about
Every player is not happy.
Really?
Yeah, it was a miserable clubhouse season. Absolutely miserable. It was probably one of I can't be 100% sure, but because the Marlins have been around since '93 and I wasn't in all the clubhouses, but in terms of clubhouse harmony, since 1993, at the very least in the bottom 5, and maybe number 1 overall. The players did not get along. There was a lot of discontent over the course of the season, and there are a lot of people who feel that contributed to some of this year. Now, did it contribute more than 5% or 10%? That's silly. I mean, this is just guys not getting along. You're not going to say that that's going to, contribute to more than 4 or 5 wins and losses. That's not possible. But
especially in a very individual sport too.
There was no harmony this year. It was a very difficult year, and I reported that earlier in the year. They had a clubhouse meeting. Some guys that I talked about didn't like that I reported that. It's just the nature of the game, and we'll see. We'll see what happens in the offseason. They absolutely have to clean that up. They have to find a manager that can connect everyone. And Donnie, I think, did his best, but I don't think there was anything he could do.
So what needs to be cleaned out? Because I don't think you just create harmony by keeping everybody together. Something must have been an issue.
Well, I mean, there was a meeting earlier in the year where they, sort of were like a couple of veterans were going in on Jazz for different things, and some of the younger players and then other players came in the defense of Jazz. listen, some people felt the meeting was warranted. Other people feel that it didn't. But at that point, the clubhouse was like divided from that point forward, for the rest of the season. So, I mean, it's not a matter of that. I just think it's a matter of at this point, they're going to have to figure out what works and what doesn't work for them in terms of leadership in that clubhouse. I don't know the answer to that, but the new manager will figure that out. Kim Ng was there. Kim Ng was in that meeting, that clubhouse meeting that they had. That was, all that controversy. I saw her walk out of that meeting. I was right there. So she knows. She'll make the decision on whether she thinks is right or not. I wasn't there, but I can only tell you the thoughts of a lot of people during the season, and it caused a lot of discontent for me over the course of the year because I caught a lot of heat from it. But it's part of the game. It's part of reporting, and I did what I had to do.
The Welt and Rheaume Batter's Box with Craig Mish. We do it every week here on the program. Don't forget, you can call if you're looking for a law office to protect your rights. 954-966-4646. Call Welt and Rheaume and tell them that Big O sent you. Promise you, they will take care of you. They took care of us. They brought the Progressive Insurance Company to its freaking knees. So I'm just telling you, we were able to rock the hell out of Progressive,
nice,
thanks to them. So just in case, if you got these big ass insurance companies trying to bring you down, all the folks at Welt and Rheaume, they're in Hollywood and they serve all of South Florida and in the Keys. By the way, they also have an office in the Keys. So if you're actually watching out there in the Keys, one more thing before I let you go.
Sure,
Bruce Sherman.
What about
where does he stand? What's the plan? But I mean, this is not a guy that can sit back and complain because he hasn't produced as an owner, but he's got to be also frustrated with the results. And I always hear from these owners that they're not happy with the results from the fans or the attendance and those kind of things. But in the end, if you don't do your part in this town, you're not ever gonna get support. And so, what is the plan for Bruce Sherman? Are you just going to waddle around and be a low payroll team and collect taxes? Is that the plan, that you're still making a little bit of money and that's about it?
No, I think he wants to win. I think he very much wants to win. We can debate the finances of Major League Baseball teams. The Marlins still have an unresolved attendance issue. They don't, no one goes to the games. And
you don't win. You don't win, nobody's goes.
But again, if I guaranteed you they'd sign Xander Bogaerts, would you guarantee me their attendance would rise by 30%?
I'm not going to guarantee you anything until they win, Mish.
Right.
You got to win. It doesn't matter if it's you playing.
Listen, he could sign everybody and nobody could come. It's the same thing that's been going on for since 03.
But watch the Panthers. They're building it up. And look, now Inter has now getting into the playoffs. You're going to now, if you're going to start becoming a playoff team, you're going to start seeing that stadium get full. You know what I mean?
Right, but at what cost, I guess, is the question. Look, I don't.
You got to make an investment, doggy.
He invested 55 in Avisail Garcia, invested 36 in Jorge Soler, bro, and they both were not that great. And Sandy Alcantara got a $50 million extension. So you're telling me he said, here's $140 million this offseason, and we're going to win 2 more games the next year. What would you do in his spot? I'm not making an excuse for him. But
I would fire the baseball people.
Well, obviously. Here we are. Well, Derek Jeter's gone.
You know what I'm saying?
Derek Jeter's gone, and so is Gary Denbo, right? So that's the deal. So what I would say about Bruce Sherman, not a lot of people ask about him. I don't know why, but what I would say about Bruce Sherman is the last 5 years, prior to this season, there's no passes for 2022, but prior to this season, Bruce Sherman wrote the checks and did not do anything else, bro. Nothing else. This was Derek Jeter's show. We want to do this. I want to do this. This is who I like. This is what I want to do. And he had complete autonomy to do that. It was in his contract to make every decision.
Sure.
And then every decision would be brought to the ownership, and they basically would sign off on it because this was Derek Jeter. This was his decision. And they just had enough. And they had enough. It was like, hey, wait a second here. Like, what are we doing? Like, no one's making any money here. We were not winning any games. We're not in any better financial position than what we were. And now Derek's gone. So what I would say is, in terms of accountability, yes, Bruce Sherman has to be accountable for all 5 years here, no question. But in terms of the way that I view it now, because now the decisions are his. There's no one else in the organization that's saying, hey, we have to do this. he has to be the one inevitably to make all the decisions. So, for an example, I can't speak to everything, but I know I am pretty sure that the manager of the Miami Marlins will be the decision will be made by Kim Eng in terms of who they want to hire, but Bruce Sherman in this case is really going to hire the manager. Right. Where previously this would have been Derek Jeter. Like it's his decision. He's involved in it. So now is really the time I think to start judging that. But the problem is, Orlando, nobody wants to hear that, and I don't blame you if you don't want to hear it either. What are you kidding me?
No, but I trust you when you tell me this. I trust you. But the only thing I would say to Bruce, who by the way doesn't look like he's a jerk, he actually looks like he's a decent dude. I'd like to sit down and talk with him one day. But overall, I just think in this town, Craig, you know how it is, dude. You got to win. You got to entertain. That's how you're going to get support here. And until you become that team, and that's his job, and he's got to find the right baseball people. But he's got to become a team that is entertaining to watch night in and night out. And then I think you'll start to draw a crowd. Are you going to get 30,000 every night? We're not that kind of place.
No, I can't project what the future is going to hold. Could next season look very much like this one? It is possible. I don't know the answer to that. But what I would say is it is going to be Bruce Sherman's team. This I know. And the other thing that I hear, and it just doesn't stop, like it literally doesn't stop. And I can never be certain of anything because I could be fooled into things, certainly be told things that are not true. But for those people who think that any decision that's being made or has been made is in order for him to sell the team, that is not happening. So okay. Like when you hear that, Orlando, and someone writes about that they're having money problems or whatever, none of that is true. This guy is going to be the owner of the team. I would, if I had to guess, he'll be the owner of the team a long time. Okay. But I can't guarantee they're going to win anything. Like that I can't do. But we got to cut the nonsense of, they're firing people, or they last week they let go of their director of player development. I don't know. Right. And then they also got rid of the two guys, Jeff DeGroot and Hadi Rod, were both let go. They both had contracts through next year. They're gone. And 5 scouts, they're gone too. So
by the way, that was all Jeter. Before he left, he gave everybody new contracts.
He gave everybody new contracts through 2023. Correct. He gave everybody new contracts without except for Mike Hill, who won in 2020. So go figure that one. But right. But anyway, so so that happens. Then what text do I get? Oh, Bruce Sherman selling the team. Here we go, firing these guys, cutting the salary, trying to make it as little as possible. So, it's just not true. It's just
no. I put one and one together because when you were saying that Derek Jeter's made all those decisions, I know that somebody else told me that behind the scenes that Derek took care of all his people before he left. He signed them all to contracts and then walked out the door.
All of them.
And so even vendors, everything. He took care of everybody before he left out of there.
Is it any different than what Jeffrey Loria did right before he left? No, same exact thing.
Well, no. The difference is Jeffrey Loria stole the $1 billion when he left. So that's all
right. But he also extended all of his people too.
No, you're right. He did.
Right before he left. I'm not asking anybody to give anybody a chance. I mean, everyone has to make their own decisions with this. This year was horrendous. Sure. And I can't sit here and say buy tickets or even defend anything by you saying, they got to spend, they got to win. All these things are all true, but in the end, if you ask me my belief, I believe this guy does want to win. I genuinely do believe that. And the guy committed 55 to one guy, 36 to another, and an extension for $50 million. Cleveland did 0, Pittsburgh did 0, Cincinnati tore it down, Oakland traded everybody. The Marlins built up. They didn't build up as much as you would want or someone else, fair, but they did do something, and it was a complete disaster. So now it's like, okay, we hit this huge disaster. Let's do it again. And now you're that guy going, I don't know. Should we do it again? That's what's going on right now, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. Since you are all knowing, who comes out of the wild card round? Rays or Guardians?
Rays.
Phillies or Cardinals?
Oh, this is tough. This is a tough one. Oh, boy.
Come on, you got a lot of insight on the Cardinals.
I took the Phillies on my earlier show. I hate to go against the Cardinals, but I'll take the Phillies here. I'm partial to JT Realmuto.
and you break all these Cardinal stories. And you have a lot of insight in that damn locker.
I really do, but I think Rheaume, it's hard to go against JT.
All right, Mariners and Blue Jays.
Mariners easy.
Okay, Padres and Mets.
Mets easy.
There you go. Now you know, folks. You got it all there.
What about the other
all
two?
the answers.
Oh, we did them all. That was it.
Yeah, we did them all. Well, that was all the Friday ones.
I think that you'll probably have a couple of 3-game series, but I think Major League Baseball is going to have to adjust this because there's a huge advantage, Orlando, to playing 3 games at home, man. Like you win the first one, you lose the second. Remember that feeling where you had to go travel for game 3? Now you're like back at home. Oh, okay, fine. I don't know. That's the only thing that I think they need to tweak, either a 1-1-1. But that's a lot of travel. I don't know. They have to figure that out.
Hey, why don't we have them like in places that are neutral? Bring it to Miami.
And but that wouldn't be fair to the Mets. Like a team like that, they win 100 games and they don't even get home field. They gotta have.
Well, actually, it would be fair to the Mets because we have a ton of Mets fans here in South Florida.
We invite them to come to the games.
That's right, exactly.
We invite them to buy tickets to the games. We root for them. Go Mets.
It's a beautiful thing.
Can you imagine the Red Sox and helping out?
Oh no,
Cubs?
No.
Imagine the Dolphins putting out something and say, "Hey, we're 2-15. Come root for the Dolphins against the Jets, so they don't win the division against New England." I mean, you'd be out of your mind.
No. Definitely. No, that would be absolutely insane. All right, tell them about the Sports Grid.
All right, Sports Grid every day, 11 a.m. Eastern, Fantasy Sports Today, 2 p.m. Eastern on Newswire, talking sports betting every day from 2 to 3, and fantasy sports from 11 to 12. New podcast tomorrow, Swings and Mishes, maybe the last one for a long time. Who even knows at this point? I've been grinding this for years, and who knows? But anyway, tomorrow we'll wrap up podcast, so that'll be on Apple, on iTunes.
Mish is basically telling you there's not enough revenue to do it anymore.
Buddy, it really is not. Like I'm like, I mean, it really is not. Like, what would you do if you were me? Like,
I know you for 20 years. I know exactly what
would you do if you were me on this? Would you continue to do this podcast? I'm not making any money off this.
No, I know they're not helping you. I get it, bro.
I can't sell 95 losses every year. I can't do it. As good as I think I am, and the insight that I get.
No, you're excellent. You're excellent.
But again, I don't. No one wants to buy that.
I know.
I mean, I think that if I did the Savannah Bananas, I may be able to make some money. But
you probably would because at least it would be entertaining.
But
you could dress like a banana for the podcast.
Anything. I'll listen. You know me, like default. I'll go on the street in a chicken outfit. But
right.
I mean, and we're the hustlers of all time, you and me. But there's got to be some end game here.
Yes.
And when I started this podcast, I thought in 5 years we're going to be a playoff team, and here I am. I'm going to be the king of the world. I'm going to have the most insightful podcast on a Major League Baseball team that's going to be in the postseason. And I don't even know if I can say that. I got to do this all again next year too. I mean, man, I don't know.
You're profiting a hell of a lot more in the batter's box than you are on swings and missions.
I mean, respectfully, that's kind of sad. That's kind of sad.
I know.
Respectfully, that is kind of sad. I did make money the first 2 or 3 years, but I really hustled it. And then I kind of stopped hustling it, and no one's knocking my door down. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. That's tough, man.
But my other gigs, I'm doing fine. I'm not complaining.
Right. Exactly.
It's just that is now a labor of love completely.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully the Marlins, turn it around, man. It would be nice.
It would
be nice.
All
right, Mish Meister, have a great weekend. Enjoy the baseball, my friend. I appreciate you as always. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good, man. Have a great week.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Craig Mish, baby. We now step out of the batter's box.